I always tell my clients, I say, we have to be very careful because you're creating a lot of supply, but you don't have enough demand to actually fill the requirement of that supply. Podcast Growth Nation, welcome back to another episode of Podcast Growth University, where we talk all things podcasting all the time. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode number 57. This is the sales equation you need to know. Today, for episode number 58, I want to go off of the previous episode a little bit. I know I said I was going to do an episode on is good enough ever enough. We're going to pivot that again. I'll push that till next week. I want to talk about why your offers aren't working. And I put offers in quotation marks in the title because offer, it means something different to everybody. And we talked about it in the previous episode, in episode number 57, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper into it because I've had this recurring conversation with clients recently, and and not just clients, but people I'm doing breakthrough sessions with. And it's gotten to the point where I got off one of these calls and I sent an audio message to Alan, my business partner and the co-host of Next Level You. And I said, hey man, I want to ask you a question. Why is it that so many people, and myself included in the beginning, we assume that if we create something, we're also going to create demand with that something? So just as an example, if a course isn't working, we'll create a different course, and that'll be the thing that moves the needle and gets people to sign up. Or if we can't fill one-on-one coaching, we'll do group coaching. It's the offer that I used to think, and I know a lot of people now do think, is going to solve the problem. And I said, why do you think that is? And we had a conversation back and forth. And there's this movie called The Field of Dreams. I think I talked about it. I talked about it in the previous episode, where people say, in that movie, they say, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. And I don't know. Again, I haven't seen the movie in a long time. But it's not the fact that there's something wrong with the offer. I believe there's something wrong with the expectation around that offer. And here's what happens. It's almost like if you were building a house, you spent a lot of time building the foundation of the home. And the foundation, let's just say, is underground. So this is somewhere where this home is going to have a basement, and there's an underground portion of this home. But the foundation takes a long time to build, and you're working on it, you're pouring concrete, and you're designing it, and you're doing all this stuff, you're digging up the ground and all this stuff, and nothing seems to be happening. So this is what you do. You say, you know what? This isn't going to work. Let me go build another foundation. And then you go build another foundation, and you never actually end up getting to the point where you have a house with a door and a roof and windows and a front yard and a walkway and a driveway and a backyard and a fence, because every time you think there's something wrong with the house, when in reality, it's just the amount of time it takes for you to actually build that house. I've seen this so many times where I always tell my clients, I say, we have to be very careful because you're creating a lot of supply, but you don't have enough demand to actually fill the requirement of that supply. So yeah, you might have 1,000 different programs and 1,000 books and 1,000 this and 1,000 that, but if you only have 10 people who want to purchase it, it doesn't matter. I would rather you have one main offer that you're really, really working on, because I think if you have 15 different ones and you're getting very little movement on 15 different little ones, you're probably not going to feel very good. And then you might quit. I would argue that having one offer, especially in the beginning, is the way to do it. And the proof I have is in the very beginning of us turning our podcast into a business, we had one offer, and it was one-on-one coaching. We didn't have the demand to do group coaching. We didn't have the demand to do live events. We didn't have the demand to do a lot of the stuff that we do today and we've monetized today. We had one thing. I was a mindset and peak performance coach. Alan was a mindset and fitness coach and peak performance coach. That's what we had. And then I went and got 5 clients, and Alan got 5 clients, and then 10 clients, and then I ended up doing podcast coaching later on, and Alan kept doing that, and business coaching. But it all came from that one thing. It came from, we're going to do one thing really well, and we're going to try to. And if you look at companies that are successful, they usually start off by doing one thing really well, And then eventually they switch, they change. Amazon started doing one thing, Apple started doing one thing, right? Now they have a lot of different stuff, but Tesla does one thing. I really think that would be a good direction for many of us to move in. I really do, because I've seen this time and time again where somebody comes out and says, yeah, no, I started talking about one-on-one coaching, but nobody came out and wanted it. I posted on social media, but nobody cares. It's on my website, but nothing's happening. It doesn't mean that you doing a group coaching, a retreat, a live event, a course, a membership program, it doesn't mean any of those are going to be any more successful. Maybe it just means you don't have the demand. Maybe that's what it means. You could go open a restaurant and say, well, we're going to sell pizza. Oh, nobody showed up for pizza. Let's do burgers. Well, nobody showed up. All right, let's do sushi. Well, nobody showed up. Let's do Italian. It doesn't necessarily mean the cooking is bad. It doesn't mean the food is bad. It doesn't mean the restaurant is bad. It doesn't mean the service is bad. It just means there's no demand yet. And imagine if you were in that restaurant business and you tried a bunch of different things, you never really get the identity of who you really are. I'm a coach because I've been coaching for the last however long, 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. That's because in the beginning, we went all in on that one thing. So, and I want to put this out there. I'll try to attach numbers to it. We had a department in our business called Next Level Web Solutions, where we would build websites for clients. And I think it was only around for maybe 2 years. And the first year, I don't know how much money we made, probably like maybe $15,000 or something like that. And then I think in the second year, we made $15,000 as well. We ended up making $33,000 total. And the department is no longer in existence. We got rid of it. That's not the direction we want to go. But the reason that ended up happening is because we had people asking us about websites. We didn't create that and say, okay, let's go find people who need help with their websites. We created that because we had already created that for ourselves within our business because we have a website that needs updating, and people started asking, hey, who's doing your website? And we would say, oh, no, we have a team that does that in-house. We can do that for you if you want. That's where it started. We had demand before we created the supply in a way. We thought of the idea based on some of the conversations that we were having. So it's not like we had a line out the door of people saying, hey, build my website. And we said, oh, we have to find somebody to do this. It wasn't quite like that. But we had a level of demand before we created it. We have Next Level Social Media where we do people's social media. That came from people asking us if we would do it. Now, we had somebody in mind and this person was already proficient and we were training them and they were working really, really hard and they're amazing. But we did already have a level of demand. So the results came quicker, right? Next Level Podcast Solutions, the team that edits this show and the team that edits Next Level University and 40 some odd other shows. In the very beginning, that team was formed based on the fact that I got a client who wanted to pay to get their podcast done. I already had the demand. I needed to create the supply. That's not necessarily a rare place to be, but most people have the supply. They don't have the demand. And they think there's something wrong with the supply when that just isn't necessarily the case. And again, going back to the previous episode, if you're exposed to 850,000 people, that means you might end up getting 85 clients. If you've been exposed to 1,000 people and maybe 100 people are consistently listening to your podcast, there just isn't a ton of demand yet. So you have to do things a little bit differently. You have to rely on one-on-one messages and DMs and stories and stuff like that. You just have to build real authentic relationships where there just isn't that many humans. There's just not that many people vying for your time, for your attention, for your services. And that doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean that's not going to happen in the future. It doesn't mean you're not valuable. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. A lot of this is just the way it works. A lot of this is just the way it works. The problem is on social media, you see a lot of people who are in a different place than you giving you advice that if they took in the beginning, they wouldn't be where they are today. That's like me saying to somebody, go do 7 episodes a week, go on 12 other shows a week, and you'll get clients and things will start happening. That's not realistic for most people. That's not the way they're going to do it. They're not going to do 20 episodes a week. It's a lot, right? I do 8 of hours, and then I'm on 8 to 10 other shows. So let's say 16 to 20 shows a week. But that's the way it works for us. And there's a lot of other things behind the scenes where this is all I do. We have a business, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have to go to an office. I don't have a 9 to 5. So it's different. But there's a lot of people on social media saying, oh, if you make this offer, everything's going to work. There is no such thing as a blanket statement like that that's actually going to work.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Hurvitz. So last year I wanted to quit everything. I wanted to throw in the towel. I wanted to hang up my microphone. And Kevin said no. Kevin said, keep going, Jen. You've got this. And oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I did. Coaches need coaches, y'all. And working with Kevin has been one of the best experiences of my life. Oh my God, I'm crying. Kevin, you are the best. I could not do this without you. And thank you. Thank you for being you and the amazing human that you are.
I had a podcast breakthrough session with somebody yesterday who ended up becoming a client. And she said, what can I expect if I work with you? And I said, I have to be very honest and very transparent. It depends on the amount of work you're willing to put in. Yeah, we're going to create your content. Your content's going to be really good, and I'm certain of that. And it's going to psychologically increase your credibility because everything's going to be better. But I said after that, you have to go out and do the work. So it depends on your ability to show up. It depends on your ability to execute. It depends on your ability to listen to what I say. The clients who have done the most or done the best have also done the most. That's not a coincidence. But it's the expectation, and here's really what I want to land. And I've seen this many times. Okay. Somebody starts a Instagram page, doesn't work. Then they start a YouTube channel, doesn't work. Then they start a blog, doesn't work. Then they start a podcast and they think, okay, this is the thing that's going to work. Maybe, but not if you treat it the same way you've treated everything else. That's why many offers aren't working, because you don't hang in it long enough to actually make it work. You don't stick with it long enough to figure out, oh, okay, I got one person to sign up for this. How did that work? What was the conversation like? What were the things that they said they didn't want to sign up for? Were there any objections? Was it the money? Was it whatever? Was it not clear enough when I had the call? That's what I see is somebody creates an offer, they don't get any results, they assume that they can't ever get any results. 0 to 1 is the hardest, right? Going from a non-existent podcast to episode 1, that's a challenge. Starting a podcast is not hard. Getting the artwork done, intro, outro, trailer, I mean, you're off to the races. But actually posting that and then getting it on podcast and Spotify and all those places, 0 to 1 is hard. Going from 0 clients to 1 client is hard. But going from 5 to 6, you have more data. You have more expertise. You have more competence. You have a deeper understanding. I really want that to land. It's probably the fact that you haven't given the offer a long enough period to digest, to grow, to sprout. If you go plant a seed and you water it for a week and nothing happens, and then you stop watering it and you go plant another seed, that first one's not going to grow. And then if you do the same thing with the second one, even if it's a different breed of plant, I don't know if there's breeds of plants, I don't know, type of plant, even if it's a different plant, and you go and water that for a week and nothing happens, you're going to think there's something wrong with the plant. You're going to think there's something wrong with the soil, something wrong with the water, something wrong with the environment, when in reality, it might be your expectations. You just might not be watering and feeding that plant enough. That is one of the biggest things I've seen. And if that resonates with you, if you've jumped from YouTube to a podcast or from social media to YouTube to a podcast to a blog to this, to this, to this, and every time you say, oh, it's not working the way I expected it to. My question number 1 is, why did you expect it to work that way? And then number 2, what would happen if you stuck with it for 4 times as long as you stuck with anything else? I'm willing to bet you'd probably get 4 times the results. It's just, it's the chasm where a lot of us quit. We had that chasm. I mean, we've had many of those chasms where things didn't work the way we thought they were going to, right? Group coaching, we filled 11 groups with 10 people each, but it's not easy. I don't just throw a social media post up and people come out of the woodwork, or I don't just do a promotion on our podcast and then everybody signs up. That happens occasionally, and some people do come out of the woodwork, but not the majority of people. A lot of that's one-on-one conversations. But I'm telling you, I don't think most people are going to tell you this. I believe that now more than ever. On that podcast breakthrough session where this person said, what can I expect to happen if I work with you? I don't know. I can't guarantee anything. I can't promise anything. I can't promise that you're not going to go viral, most likely. I can't promise that. I didn't, so I can't imagine you're going to. All right. Are you going to double your income this month? Probably not. I mean, if you don't have any clients, you could. But are you going to make $100,000 this week? No. But I want to tell the truth. I want that to be the reason somebody works with me, not because I give them false promises of what they can actually hope to accomplish. So that really is my goal in this episode and in this podcast in general, is to help you formulate accurate expectations. Because I'm telling you, I know these people, not all of them, obviously, but I know a lot of these people on social media that are telling you everything they do works, and I've seen behind the scenes and it doesn't work. I know coaches who talk about being coaches who have no clients. I know that. I've seen it. It's more common than you'd think. A lot of I have known financial advisors who have podcasts about finances who are broke. They're not making any money. This is very, very, very common. I've seen it. I have worked with podcasters who aren't making any money with their podcast or having any level of success, who coach other podcasters on how to make money with their podcast and find success. I've seen it. I know. I've seen people speak at podcast festivals where I go look up their show, and with all love and all the respect due, they shouldn't be teaching people about podcasting. But this is common. This is how it works. This is not just in the podcast industry. This is in every industry. So my question for you is, what are your current offers? And how much effort are you putting into just one of them? Eventually, do you want to diversify offers? Yes, right? You probably don't want to get to the point where you're coaching 50 people and you don't have any time, right? So then you have a course, or then you have a membership or group coaching, whatever it may be. But if you think about it, if you have the demand to coach 50 people and it gets to the point where you can no longer supply it, you probably have demand to do group coaching, or you probably have the demand to do a membership site or courses. If you have so much work that you're overwhelmed, that is demand. If you don't have enough work to fill what you even have yet, you don't have enough demand, most likely. That is a good way to look at it. That is a really good way to look at it. And then you can retool as you go, right? So when I started Next Level Podcast Solutions, in the beginning, we had 5 clients or something. There wasn't a ton of demand. Now the demand is more than it's ever been. So we're really working on improving the team and growing the team and making sure we're more efficient and making sure everybody is on the same page and quality assurance and all that. The demand is higher, so we have to make sure that the supply can actually keep up with the demand. So that's really the point of this episode. If you don't understand, and again, I didn't know about this 5 years ago, so I'm not saying this in a condescending manner. If you don't understand supply and demand, it's very hard to understand how business works. And if you're a podcaster who's trying to make money with your podcast, you are a business owner. Even if it's not a legal business yet, even if you don't have a business name, an LLC, any of that, you're still working within the confines of business. So I think it would be very beneficial for you to understand that. Again, as always, any questions about any of this, please reach out. You don't have to book a call. You can just DM me at NeverQuitKid on Instagram, Kevin Palmieri on Facebook. You can email me, kevin@nextleveluniverse.com. You don't have to hop on a call. You can just send me questions. I'm happy to answer them. I check my emails every day. I check my DMs every day. So I'm more than happy. If you do want a free 30-minute podcast breakthrough session, again, between our show, I guess my shows, and being on other shows, I'm over 2,000 at this point. I've been doing this with many people for a fairly long time. I do not know everything. I do not have the answers to everything, but I'm sure I can add value to you wherever you are in the podcast journey. So as always, we will have the link in the show notes. I'll make a gentle promise that next week for episode number 59, we are going to do Is Good Enough Ever Enough? The reason I keep pushing it back is because during the week when I have calls with clients or potential clients, I'm having a lot of breakthroughs, and I want to share the stuff that I think is going to be the most valuable. So sometimes I will end up pushing an episode back and back and back, and who knows, it may never even happen. That is my current plan, but I'm also recording this a day early because we're traveling to give a speech in Pittsburgh, so my schedule is a little bit off. So that's the goal. Is good enough ever enough? That is my goal episode, but who knows? We might end up changing it. As always, I appreciate you all very, very, very much. I hope your podcast is going well. I hope your offers are going well. I hope your interviews are going well. I hope everything is going well. But if it's not, you got to keep going, because I would hate for you to be the person who says, yeah, I could have been a podcaster, and I get to 12 episodes and then I quit because it wasn't working. Nobody's show is working 12 episodes in. And if they are, those are the exceptions to the rule, not the rule. So that is my little motivational minute for today. I'll talk to you all next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Keep on podcasting. Keep on crushing it. And we'll talk to you soon.